Okay, so the next session during the hackathon is we have one of the core team members, Hannes. He's located in Germany. I mean, core team, for those of you who don't know, these are like a community contributors who has a lot of experience contributing to GitLab. I mean, for somebody like Hannes, I mean, past several years. So it's certainly great to have Hannes, and we're going to talk about internationalization and translation. This is another area where for new contributors who speak foreign languages, it's relatively easy to start contributing. So I'll turn things over to you, Hannes, and feel free to share your screen and we can go from there.
All right. So let me share my screen. All right, so that should do it. So one of the easiest way you can contribute to GitLab is by actually translating GitLab into different languages. So let's say, for example, I'm German, so it's easy for me to translate some of the strings to German. GitLab has a CrowdIn instance for that. It's translate.gitlab.com. So once you go there, you see all the languages that GitLab currently supports. Those are not all the languages that are possible, of course. If someone wants to add a new language, that's quite easy to do. But for now, we'll focus on how to translate strings in an existing language. So let me log in first. To log in, you can simply use your GitLab account. On the first login, you'll get asked by GitLab to allow the CrowdIn. And after you logged in, you can, for example, go to German. There's only one file. It's gitlab.pot. And once you're here, you see all the different strings that GitLab currently has that are not translated yet into this language. So let's see, for example, this one. This is a namespace, which is this, and the text that needs to be translated, which is this. So if you see a translation with a namespace and a pipe, only translate the last part of it, and don't translate the namespace at all. Completely ignore it. It's just for context. So, for example, this is for the commit widget. So you can see if you look at it in GitLab, it's this string here. So that often makes it easier if you get some context and know where the translation should go to. For example, there would be several alternatives how you can translate the string in German, but just looking at the context, you can kind of choose the best one. So I'd say it's erstellt in this case. So just click Save. And that is completely fine. There's a warning that the first letter is has a different casing. But since the first letter is the namespace, it doesn't matter at all. So just click Save anyway. And you're done. That string is translated. It'll get reviewed by another person. And then it will get added to one of the next GitLab releases. Usually, it happens 1 or 2 releases later, depending on how fast the reviewer is. There are also strings like this, which simply have no namespace. So you don't get much context here. If you're unsure about something, you can leave a comment on the translation, which can be viewed by everyone who uses CrowdIn or is is registered with GitLab Coding instance, and you can ask questions here. For example, you need more context or stuff like this, or sometimes people, you can see it here, here's a comment here. So sometimes people translate the namespace as well. So the reviewer here said, please ignore the namespace. Other than that, there's one other thing that's important. In some strings you have variables, like this one. You should not translate these. Simply copy these variables and use them in your translation. So it would be something like this. Yeah. And that's pretty much already it. You can do that for any kind of translation. If you contributed a few translations, you can also apply to become a reviewer. So then you'll log in and get a similar interface, but just get the string and then already translated string here, and you can look at it and check if it's okay. And yeah, you'll have to apply for that. There's a pretty good documentation page about translating GitLab, which pretty much has all the three areas. There's translate strings, which I just showed, proofreading, how you're able to apply for that, and then the last part that's a little bit more complicated would be to actually externalize strings in GitLab itself so they can be translated. Because currently in GitLab you still have a few strings that are English only. So if you want to translate a string that is in GitLab, you unfortunately need to have the GitLab development kit set up first, because you will need to run some rake task, which you can't do online. But assuming that you have set that up already, which I have in my case, it's running here. Then you can look at, for example, a HAML page. To externalize a string, this is pretty much all you need. Just add these characters around the string. That would be for a string with without a namespace, and this would be with a namespace. So the only difference is that there's an S at the beginning here. So let's say we want to rename this and to show inactive branches because something in the code changed. So we save it and let's see, clear, and we run a rake task, which would be in this case get text regenerate, because we are modifying an existing translation in this case. This will take a few seconds, depending on how fast your computer is, even a few minutes, because this scans all the files in GitLab, or almost all the files, and checks it for translatable content or strings that have been marked like this to be translatable. And once it did that, okay, we'll wait a bit longer. Once it did that, it'll show you the changed files, and that you can create a merge request with it. And yeah, there are a few different syntaxes for that depending on which file you open. So there's again, we have a pretty good documentation page for that. It's different if you use it in Ruby files or in YAML files, or even ERB files in JavaScript. The syntax is always similar, but for example, in JavaScript is 2 underscores and slightly different every time. And then there are some special cases, like we want to use plurals, and you'll have to prepend it with an N and use a little bit different syntax. So let's see if this is still not finished. And let's see, yeah, here's the part about namespaces, which I already said. It's just S and underscore, and then you define any kind of namespace, hopefully something that that most people can recognize. So for example, if I want to translate this page, I'll probably choose something like user profile or contributor profile, something like that for a namespace, and then add translate all the strings. For example, these few tabs here. So if you let's see, so if you want to change your language, you can do that in your settings. Which is the preferred language. So for example, if I choose German here, update, then hopefully it should switch to German, which it partly did. This is German, this is not. So you can see that this part is either not translated yet or isn't even translatable yet on this page. Probably the latter. Let's see. Okay, so the rake task finished. And you'll see I edited this file, and it also changed this file. So you'll now see it shows inactive branches here, and if you create a merge request, this will get picked up by CrowdIn once the merge request is merged, and it will show up again in this view as a new translation. The same as if you remove a string, then obviously it'll be removed here and not appear at all. So that's pretty much it, how you can translate GitLab and how to contribute to it. I don't know. Did I miss anything? Are there any questions?
Yeah, so I mean, thanks for doing this. It's a very good overview. And I mean, so obviously easy way to get started is just translating in CrowdIn. That doesn't require any CLIs or using with GDK, but it's nice to know how you can also contribute to tag the text to be translatable. Are there ways to? I mean, let's say you started, translating some of the text in your language. Is there a way to? I mean, you obviously need to get those reviewed by other reviewers. Is there a way to encourage people to review them relatively quickly, or is that?
I think there's no way at the moment.
Okay.
Usually, there's a list of reviewers that you could ping.
Right.
They're on the which is these people for these languages.
Right.
So you can ping them.
Right.
Okay,
so you just have
really
to manually contact those
Yeah.
people. There's no way to do it through CrowdIn. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in CrowdIn you could probably use a comment and text them there.
Right.
I'm not sure if CrowdIn supports direct messages. I don't think so.
Yeah. No, but cool. And then once they get like voted on and reviewed, like you were saying, like I think it automatically gets picked up for the upcoming releases. So hopefully people will see their work reflected in the product in a month or so. But cool. But I already learned something. I've been like translating namespaces too, so I guess I should stop doing that or go back and fix them. But
yeah, because I mean, normally you wouldn't want this in the English translation as well, right? So
yeah, right, exactly. But
also, if you translate these, you'll see them in the, let's say, private profile, and it would be namespace private profile here. So you don't want that.
Right. Yeah, and then yeah, Hannes, if you can go back to the previous screen, I guess, and
this one.
Yeah. Okay. So the other button that I've found helpful is that request context button, like near where your mouse is. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the common one is this a verb or a noun kind of thing, right? Like you don't quite understand the context of what needs to be translated. It's an easy way to ask for clarification.
For example.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same as entering a comment here.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a quicker way of doing it. I found that helpful as well. But
yeah.
Cool.
So for some strings, there are translations suggestions here, which are just powered by Google Translate. You can use those as a reference, but please don't copy paste it blindly. Google Translate is not the best translator.
Right. Yeah, and then the other thing that you can see there is like other languages. So if you speak multiple languages, and if you want context on how it was translated to different languages, that's another good tool, I thought.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you can see this has already been translated in quite a few languages.
Right.
This one only in French.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I don't think there are any questions. Thanks again, Hannes, for your time. And
no problem.
yeah, and as people know, like Hannes is also on our Gitter channel as well. So if you have any translations or other contribution-related questions, just post them there. And I'll also post this recording on the wiki page for people who couldn't be here. All right. Thanks, Hannes.
All right.